Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. It's official. The postseason is here. We've got a lot to get into. We're going to talk a little bit about the play-in. We're going to talk about some news, some injuries, things of that nature. Before we do, though, just coming off of LeBron's exit interview, Keith, you said they should have been recording this from Fantasyland to Disneyland.
You're not supposed to share the stuff I text you on the show. Come on.
I thought it was funny. It was a good comment, especially when it came to the salary cap stuff. When he talked about not salary cap, but CBA, he used the CBA as his shield for why he couldn't say whether or not he was extending with the Lakers. And I went, that's not right. Keith is going to laugh about this. What did you think?
Wasn't the only thing I laughed about throughout the course of that presser. I just, the one that really got me was the comment about why him, Russ, and AD weren't
because they weren't on the floor together.
Is because we weren't on the damn floor together.
Yeah.
It didn't look very good when you were on the damn floor together.
Right.
But then, the CBA stuff Trevor was referring to is LeBron basically said, "Oh, we can't talk an extension yet because the CBA doesn't allow it." He's a Lakers player. There's a lot of leeway there.
He's not even a Lakers free. It's not even like he's a free agent he's becoming a free agent. He's still under contract till next summer. He could talk extension all he wants.
Yeah, they can't. They can't officially enter into any agreements. Nothing can be signed until I believe it's August 4th or something along those lines. But the other one that just kind of made me laugh is the season's not a failure because we came to work every single day with our hard hats on. Really? I mean, come on, man. That's the good job, good effort.
It's the participation trophy.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for your effort this year. That's like when I was in my corporate job and they'd come and be like, "You guys did a great job on this. Here's some sandwiches. Like, well done. Like, thanks for that. Like, wow, we worked hard today." So, but I didn't expect much different. I thought he was very candid to be more on the reasonable side. I thought he was very candid about basically saying, look, once we were out, I wasn't going to chase the scoring title.
Yep.
And I thought that was good, right? Especially considering better than I do the number of people like, he only cares about stats. He's pushing it, and all this stuff. It was a little concerning to hear him talk about the ankle injury that, he did make it worse in that game. He came back and played, and that he's now got, it's going to take him several weeks of basically staying off his feet.
Yeah.
Because I did he said 4 to 6 weeks, right?
So you're 4 to 6 weeks staying off of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're talking beginning of June, for that, which, I mean, we know how fanatical LeBron is about his preparation and preparing his body and all that stuff. That's just going to set things back a little bit. But I don't think there's, a lot to take from it. The exit interviews sometimes are illuminating when guys are free agents because maybe occasionally you'll get a guy who'll be like, "Yeah, I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore." Right. Or sometimes you get one of those like, "Hey, this is where I really want to be, and I'm hoping we'll get a deal done." And but it's sometimes I look at these, I'm like, why do we bother with this? But I get it. It's all part of it because it's the last time you're going to see these guys for, in this case, probably 5-6 months.
Yeah, which is scary for me.
For you. Yeah.
But as far as LeBron goes, I mean, as much as we might want to say, well, he was wrong about the CBA thing. Well, that's true, but he also wasn't going to give an answer to that question. He's not, regardless of what he says, he's not, of what excuse he uses, he's not going to tell you, yes, I'm signing it. They're wanting to hear, yes, I'm signing an extension, or no, I'm not. He is not going to give you that answer. He's not going to give you that right now. Nor should he. No free agent would. They're going to use that as the carrot to get the Lakers to make moves and stuff in the offseason. He's going to say, well, hey, if you get this guy, then maybe I'll sign the extension in August. So that's how that's going to play out, and we knew that going in. But the question still has to be asked. It was just funny that he cited something that was not true as far as why he couldn't discuss an extension at that point. But and
one thing on that I'll say too, call me bitter and whatever you want to say, but after Kyrie Irving announced in front of a full building of fans, like, I'm gonna resign here, I take all these things with the biggest possible grain of salt that you can possibly have. So it's Yeah, you're right. It's not. You want to hear him say that, but even then, it's like, it's 4 months till he can do anything officially anyway. So, and good for LeBron. Put pressure on him.
Oh yeah,
right. Like I don't need to sign anything right now. So yeah.
And then the part about Russell Westbrook, AD, they weren't on the damn floor together. That kind of that's actually got. I've seen the reaction from Lakers Twitter has been like because Anthony Davis said something similar. They're like, no. Don't start down that path. Don't start saying, well, if we were just on the floor together, well, you need to blow this thing up. But I don't think that's,
He did say, I noticed later, and it was because it was on NBA TV, carried it.
Yeah.
I did note it. I did hear him say, I loved playing with Russ, which is, I mean, we're all looking for, anything. Absolute, goofballness here, but yeah, let's just, we can spend all day, on conspiracy theory type stuff, but I would be a little nervous too hearing that initial part. So I'm with you on that one, but yeah, if Russ is on the Lakers and playing next year, I don't know. I was trying to come up with something I would do live on the show, but I don't know what it'll be.
Do something crazy,
I was gonna say like make a bet with you, but I know you don't want that.
Right,
so
it's not. Like, I wouldn't want to be rooting for.
I don't know. We'll think it. Somebody suggests something in the comments. I'll do. I'll eat like a hot pepper or something. But he has to be playing. He can't just be there because they're like, well, we can't trade him.
Right. He can't be doing the John Wall where he's just on the roster and not there. But front runners unite. Give us some suggestions on what Keith can do if Russell Westbrook is try to make it something that at least makes me feel a little bit better, so that if that's the path we do go down, that it could be like the silver lining for me.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, you can at least laugh at me or something.
Right. All right.
All right. You want to get into some
Let's do it.
News? So, guys, a couple of things here. There were 1 million transactions since we last recorded. I mean, felt like there was like one every 5 minutes over the last few days of teams doing roster shuffling. To be completely honest, most of these were pretty minor. We will get to those, but that's going to be in a day or so. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on injury updates that are related to playoff teams and play-in teams, and then we're going to talk about the play-in tournament as we know it today with those matchups. We will do playoff series previews and predictions, but that'll come down the line a little bit later this week, as well as we are going to do full NBA awards. Trevor and I have both filled out a ballot like it would be filled out for normal purposes, so we will have those for you as well, and we'll get into that. But today we're really going to focus on injury updates related to postseason teams as well as our play-in preview.
And let's start with the one that when it came out last night, this was mid-Lakers game. I mean, my reaction, we were doing a live play-by-play. I mean, my heart just sank when I saw the news about Luka going to the locker room, going back with team personnel, all that sort of stuff, grabbing at his calf. That not a good sign. Sounds like it is a calf strain. There was some optimism that isn't a serious injury, but what are we thinking right now on Luka? Has there been an update beyond what I would have seen last night? Because with the LeBron presser this morning, I missed some stuff that happened this morning.
Yeah, the update is he's going to have an MRI a little bit later today, sometime this afternoon, and then they'll know the severity of the injury at that point. They are calling it a left calf strain. Woj tweeted shortly after the Mavs announced the injury and that Luka was out for the rest of the night that there was optimism it's not severe. Jeff Stotts, who runs In Street Clothes, who is absolutely a must follow for all things injury-wise, says calf strains have a really wide range. The shortest return is 3 days that he has on record, and the longer return is 16 days. So clearly the 16 days, that's a problem because that would be most, if not all of the first round. The 3 days, that would be the best because then he'd be ready to go in game one. The NBA did the Mavericks no favors whatsoever. They actually have the first playoff game this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yikes.
As they open their series against the Utah Jazz. So we're kind of officially on the clock and on Luka watch pending this. I will say when I first saw him get hurt, I thought it was the Achilles.
Yeah,
anytime anytime a guy pushes off, turns around and looks like because they always say it feels like you got kicked.
Yep.
Yeah, he turned right around and then he took another step, limped, and then started grabbing it. I was like, not the Achilles, like anything but this. But it sounds like that's not the case, and we'll know a little bit more details here in hopefully within the next little bit. Here of what the MRI showed, and fingers crossed. We want every team to be healthy now that's going into the playoffs. Want him fully healthy for game 1.
You might need to ready a breaking news siren in case that goes down while we're recording here.
Yeah.
Playoff wise, I mean, look, we're going to wind up with a 4-5 matchup being the Mavs and the Utah Jazz. Without going into a full preview or anything, can the Jazz? Well, let's flip it. Can the Mavericks beat the Jazz if they don't have Luka?
I don't think so, unless the Jazz continue to be an absolute train wreck that is, just can't get out of their own way. Then maybe. But yeah, I think if the Jazz can reset themselves to some extent, then no. Yeah, I don't think they can win without Luka. They'll struggle too much against that Utah defense to create good shots.
And then there's a domino effect there. I mean, Quinn Snyder, if they get into the second round, does that keep him in Utah in terms of the coaching situation? Yeah. What does that mean? Yeah. I mean, we've heard a lot about Jazz players coming on the market as well, and Bogdanovich and I mean, the Donovan Mitchell-Rudy Gobert relationship. There's been so many different conversations around this team about how an early playoff flameout could lead to a dismantling of this squad. If there's no Luka and suddenly they get into the second round, then who knows what happens from there. This could have a major ripple effect on not just the Mavs and the playoffs, but on the future of the Utah Jazz, as crazy as it sounds.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, and we'll wait for news on Luka, and then we'll do our official series pick a little bit later. All right, let's go to another guy who's going to have a little bit more time to get ready before he has to be concerned. Stephen Curry, Steve Kerr. I heard it. Sounded like he was being a little coy to me and wasn't like, yeah, Steph's going to be ready to go. Like, he left it as like, oh, I don't know what he's done since we've been on this 2-game road trip. Like, yeah, okay. You don't have access to a phone, or, even a fax machine to fax an update. Like, come on. Of course you have some sense of what's happened with Steph in the last few days. So, but they're not saying he's good to go for game 1. They're not saying he's out for game 1. They're saying there'll be an update next couple days. They open their series on, let me just make sure I get this right, on Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern against the Denver Nuggets. So my guess is Steph will be ready to go, because one of the last updates we did get was that he was improving pretty well. So, but we're awaiting word on that. So that's the 3 and the 4 seeds in the Western Conference, both waiting to see if their best players will be available for game 1.
Not what we want to see heading into the playoffs, but I do think I'm optimistic as well that Steve Kerr, being coy or not, I think he knows what's happening, and I think that stuff will play. Jumping over to Cleveland though, man, I so badly wanted the Cavs to have that kind of Cinderella season, and to a degree they still have, but now pessimism about Jarrett Allen. That's not a great sign for a Cavs team that's I mean, they're going to be in a tough spot going to Brooklyn in the play-in.
Yeah, so play-in schedule: Cavaliers at Nets, Cavs 8 seed, Nets 7 seed. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern on TNT. That's the getting us kickstarted here in the postseason. The winner of that game, just as a refresher on how the play-in tournament works, will be the 7 seed and will play the Boston Celtics in the first round. The loser will play the winner of Hawks Hornets, which we'll get into in a minute. And that will be the winner of that game then will be the 8 seed, and we'll play the Miami Heat in the first round. So you want to do Nets Cavs?
Yeah, might as well. While we're here, let's just talk about that series.
So let's go back to Jarrett Allen. Yeah. Pessimism, he's going to make it back. Doesn't sound like he's going to play for the Cavs. He's been doing some workouts, but Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com, who does a great job of covering the Cavaliers, reported that sources within the team are basically saying, yeah, it's probably not looking good. For what it's worth, JB Bickerstaff has basically said, look, we're going to prepare without him, and then if he can play, and we'll go from there. So we will see on Jared Allen. We're waiting an update. My guess is we'll get I think we get a preliminary injury report later tonight for tomorrow, and then we'll get the real deal. So we'll see. I mean, if he's questionable, then that gives a chance, sure, right? That he could go in that one. On the Nets side, Ben Simmons will not play in the play-in tournament, but there's some optimism. Shams and Woj both reported over the weekend. Some optimism. Maybe he could return in the first round. I don't know. I think that's a bad idea. I think that's too hard to work a guy like him in the playoffs, but we'll see. But got to get there first. So let's talk about it. Nets, Cavs. What I guess big picture thoughts first.
So let me set it up. Going in, the Nets, as of right now, as we're recording this, are an 8.5 point favorite going into this game. Keep in mind, sometimes when we look at betting lines, that the teams that have big star power, the Nets are still getting a lot of bets to win the whole thing and all of that. So that can skew the betting line because that brings in a lot of bets on that side, and we see the same effect with the Lakers. Obviously, won't anymore, but saw that even all the way up to the last day of the season. So the Nets still, though, are the heavy favorite going in. And I think they should be. I think they've got the momentum when you look at what's been happening here with Cleveland. They've been sputtering down the stretch. The Cavs just 3-7 in their last 10 games. And that's not great. They haven't looked like world beaters. They're 6-4, but they've won their last 4 games. The Cavs on the season have a higher point differential, plus 2.1 compared to just plus 0.8. But the Nets have also had more starting lineups than any team in the NBA. They've had tons of shifts in terms of players shuffling in and out. And they've got Kevin Durant. It's hard to pick against the team that's got Kevin Durant in a do-or-die scenario, essentially. I mean, they're not really in do-or-die here because you get a second shot at it if you're in the 7 or 8 seed. But I have a hard time picking against the Nets here, but I do think the Cavs will keep it closer than 8.5 points if I had to pick something on the betting line there.
Yeah, Nets actually finished the year 24-17 on the road, 20-21 at home. That is not all Kyrie Irving driven, because they were very good on the road even without Kyrie in the first half of the year when he wasn't playing at all. So obviously that is somewhat of a factor. But they're at home for this one. I'm with you. It's very hard to pick against Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Mm-hmm. That said, in what was kind of sort of a must-win game to get yourself better play-in positioning, almost lost to the Pacers yesterday on Sunday. Like they don't play any defense. I mean, their defense is awful. The teams race up and down the floor. Now the problem is that's not how Cleveland wants to play. And if you try to run with the Nets in a track meet, you're probably going to get beat. So I tend to think whoever gets this game played at the pace they want is probably the key. I'm just going to trust in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to make plays down the stretch. I'm going to pick the Nets to win this one and send the Cavs into that second must-win play-in.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what's ultimately going to happen. I do think, let me ask you this. What side has the coaching advantage?
It's
tough. And here's why I'm asking why you collect your thoughts on that. The reason why I'm asking is because these two teams played just a few days ago. There's going to be opportunities here for both sides to have just seen what the other side does and to try to make adjustments to those things. So the game-to-game adjustment ability of the coaches, I think, is going to be a factor in the outcome of this game.
Yeah, that's what the Cavs need to be able to do. JB Bickerstaff needs to find ways for them to find easier offense. Now, it's the Nets, so they ought to be able to. And then he needs to figure out a way. My guess is they're going to double Durant all the time. And if you go down with Kyrie has a big scoring night and someone else from the Nets scores a bunch of points, then so be it. That it is what it is with that. But it's coaching advantage matchup. I'm going to say JB Bickerstaff maybe has the tactical advantage, but I think as far as knowing and managing his roster, and some of that's just better talent and better healthy talent, I'll give it to Steve Nash. I think Nash does actually a semi-decent job of managing his guys through stuff. But yeah, it definitely is. This is not a Monty Williams, Nick Nurse, coaching Titans matchup here by any means. Both of these guys have done okay, but I think key is the pace. Then I also think the Cavs have to destroy them inside.
Yeah, they do.
They have to have a massive advantage on points in the paint to have a shot at winning. But I'm gonna take the Nets with the caveat I will not be shocked if Cleveland pulls this off and wins.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. So we're both taking the Nets on that one.
Right.
Let's get a few more injury things in, and then we'll finish off talking about the play-in. Matisse Thybulle, well, this isn't really injury, but will not be able to play in Toronto in their series there. 76ers have home court advantage, which, I mean, helps mitigate the issue there, but still, no Matisse Thybulle in Toronto. Like, if the Raptors get one in Philly, that could potentially swing the series because, I mean, he's their best perimeter defender. So we'll see what ultimately happens there. Toronto, I mean, the Sixers have the stars, but I'm not counting Toronto out in that matchup, again, without going into a full preview just yet.
I think of all the lower seeded teams, they're probably the one I like the most to pull an upset pending Luka Doncic availability for that series. If there is a series to be missing Matisse Thybulle, I think this might be the one. I think you are not he's not going to have a huge impact. They don't have that shutdown wing score or the high level wing score that they need to put him on a shutdown. So that's one thing. And then I also think with Matisse Thybulle, that gives the Raptors really a guy to double off of to guard Joel Embiid with. So I think Danny Green in there, this is probably a series to reemerge, unearth, however we want to put it, Furkan Korkmaz a bit. And let's see where that goes. But yeah, we'll do our full preview on that one later. But Matisse Thybulle, let's do the other East play-in game, because there's injury news on both sides of this. The other East playing game, the Atlanta Hawks, 9 seed, will host the Charlotte Hornets, the 10 seed. For Atlanta, doesn't sound good on John Collins. Still not really there. Chris Kirshner of The Athletic gave an update in an article today. It just sounds like Collins he's got multiple things going on. He's got a foot and leg problem. He's got a problem with a finger. He really is struggling to do any kind of accurate shooting with a splint on the finger. So it doesn't look very good for him to play. And then on the Hornets side, Gordon Hayward, Hornets announced not only is he out for the play-in tournament, he's out for at least 2 weeks, which is probably at this point is the entirety of the first round, should they advance that far. He's having real discomfort in his left foot again, to the point of they're putting him in a cast to immobilize the foot. And they're not even going to reevaluate for 2 weeks. So the Hornets are they're in trouble. It's going to be tough. I getting into that game, I just like the Hawks better. They're at home. I think Trae Young is going to really, even without John Collins, I think he'll probably go nuts on the Hornets. I expect this one to be up and down, high scoring, probably really fun game considering it's a 9 and a 10 seed. But I think the Hawks just have a little bit too much for the Hornets.
This one is the Hawks a 4.5 point favorite, so not as big of an edge as the Nets, which is to be expected. I agree with you again. I'm going with the Hawks here. Just in my mind, it boils down to this: who would I least want to be lining up across from in a do or die situation, LaMelo Ball or Trae Young? And for me, it's Trae Young, and I like LaMelo Ball a lot. If you remember back to our All-Star show, I was doing everything I could to make sure he was on my list. He's great, and I know that it's more than just one player, but ultimately, I think Trae Young has the killer instinct that you have to have in these types of games, in these types of situations, to just cut a team's heart out, and I expect him to do that. That being said, we've been saying this for weeks. The Hornets are one of those teams where one hot shooting night and they're sending you home. That's all it takes for this team. But their defense is a challenge, and I think Trae Young is going to carve them up.
Yeah, that's it. I just think too much Trae.
Yeah.
For the Hawks. It's tough because in these single game things, you want to get in all this game planning and matchup and all this other stuff. But sometimes it just comes down to one player is really good, and that's enough. So, all right, you want to jump over to the West?
Let's do it.
All right. So in the West, and that let me go back real quick. That Hornets Hawks game, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN on Wednesday, for that one. And then the winner of that game plays the loser of the first game. Those games will be played on Friday, time TV to be determined on Friday. So everybody will get Thursday off, and then we'll go Friday. All right, Western Conference play-in tournament, the 8-9 game, the 8-seeded LA Clippers at the 7-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves. I've already done it, but I'll do it again. Minnesota should not be going through this. They finished 4 games ahead of the Clippers. They finished 10 games ahead of the Pelicans and 12 games ahead of the San Antonio Spurs. This is stupid. They've done their work. They won 46 games. They should already be in the postseason, but they're here. So we're going to do it. We're going to get into it. What's our line looking like on this one?
I mean, well, first of all, the Wolves are a -3 favorite, so our closest matchup so far. And it is actually the closest matchup overall in terms of the...
Hey, sorry, breaking news, just not unexpected, but per Chris Haynes, now per Woj, probably per everybody in seconds, the Lakers have fired Frank Vogel.
Okay.
Officially.
Yes, yeah, we knew that was coming.
Knew it was coming.
You know what? Yeah. Just to pause things real quick right there. I never got your take on what happened last night with Woj tweeting that out as the second the buzzer sounded. Awful. I was very upset. I was not happy with
it's
that.
Appalling. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's not how anybody should find out. And a couple people said, but what about when a player is traded? Completely agree. Players shouldn't find out that way either. Should never find out anything through the media. It should be talk to the guy first and let it go. Yes, I get it. We all knew it was coming.
Yep, but the timing.
Like, I mean, we're crazy. But yeah, I mean, it was like as the buzzer sounded. Like, that's not okay. So, I will say, too, even when we know a coach is going to be fired, needs to be fired, everybody needs to go in a different direction, it still sucks. It's somebody losing a job, because this is not just going to be Frank Vogel. There are staffers who are going to lose jobs here, maybe all of his assistants, maybe all of the video staff, anybody who falls under the coaching side of things. When a head coach is fired, often they all go because the new guy comes in and wants
their own guys,
his staff with him. So that's the I knew we were going to get a visitor here at the front door. Sorry. But yeah, not okay. Like, it's just, it sucks when that happens, and to do it the way that happened, just awful. I hate it. Hate the whole thing.
There were so few positive moments this season for the Lakers, and to have a moment like that, Austin Reeves, undrafted guy, blowing up for a triple-double. And I mean, it felt good. And then instantly you get hit with that, and you're like, why would you do that to him right now? So, Mike, where does the blame? Is that on Woj for, obviously he had that for a while. Is that on Woj for hitting tweet or hitting go? Like, in the moment the buzzer sounds, is that on whoever leaked the information? Where does the blame fall in that situation? Because I'm curious to get an outside take.
Yeah, I would, all of the above, I guess. Hey, I know that's I'm kind of like taking an easy out on that one. But it's bad on whoever informed him. I don't think you needed to be informed right away on that. Woj could have said, hey, does this need to go out now? Can it go out an hour after the game? I also understand where Woj is coming from, because I've done nothing near that level of news breaking. I'm not trying to say that, but even when I get minor stuff, you want to get it out there because someone else is going to if you don't. So I just, that's one where that should have you could have held that till this morning. I mean, again, we all knew this was coming, so I fully admit I'm being colored here with my thoughts on this because I really like Frank Vogel. I got to know him quite well when he was here in Orlando. I always found him to be a very, stand-up professional guy. He's also extremely funny. He's just a good guy all around, and it's just, it sucks. Like, it sucks for everybody, and the way it went down sucks even worse. I just really don't like it.
Absolutely. I've already given a bunch of my thoughts on it on the Lakers Nation side of things, and I will again when we record on this later today, but wanted to get your take. But anyway,
let's get back to the
play-in tournament. So we're at
Western Conference, 8-seeded LA Clippers at 7-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves. That is on Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, TNT. What is the line on this one? I'm very curious. I've not seen it.
It is Wolves -3. So this is our
All right,
closest.
so basically, that's the home court advantage.
That's
right?
home court advantage, essentially, right there. Yep. Wolves -3. Maybe not a surprise because, look, I mean, Paul George is back. The Clippers have been a scrappy team all season long.
Yep. 5 in a row.
I mean, they've been very, very good.
Up the year.
I don't like. I think both teams can win in the same way in terms of just outworking their opponent, just being the team that just switches on for an entire 48 minutes when their opponent is only on for 40 minutes, and those 8 minutes make all the difference, and they walk away with the win. Both teams can do some things on the offensive boards. The Wolves particularly can be absolutely vicious there. I have a hard time picking this one. I think I'm gonna go Clippers because Paul George being back. I think that might swing this thing. But it's so close. Like I could go back and forth all day on it. But I think officially I'll go Clippers on this.
All right. So for everybody who says you and I share a hive mind, I'm gonna go Timberwolves.
Right. I like
it. I do. I'm with you though. This is a true toss up on this one. I could see this one going either way. I will say this too. I think whoever loses this will win the second game. Yes. And I don't think either one of these teams beats or even overly challenges the Suns or the Grizzlies. I don't want to get too bent out of shape over this one game. That said, somebody rolls an ankle or something in this game, and then they go into that second game, that could tighten things up considerably. But in order for Minnesota to win, Karl-Anthony Towns has to be the best player on the floor, and it can't even really be close. I think you need to play one of these games where it is, right? Anthony Edwards says it all the time. I want him to dominate. I want him to come out and just, kill other teams. It needs to be get him the ball inside and just let him do his thing. Let him, destroy the Clippers centers who aren't bad. Zubats and Hartenstein are tough. They're especially defensively. But if Cat is going to be a guy who's knocking on the door of all NBA, this is a game where he needs to really, shine with this. For the Clippers, it just kind of comes down to they just got to make shots. This was one of the best shooting teams in the league all of last season, this year that has dipped in part with the guys out of the lineup, but let's see where that goes.
And that's where you mentioned making shots. Luke Kennard has hit some big shots for them this season, and he came up with a hamstring issue last night.
Yeah.
So I was basing my pick on him being back. If he's not, that could be enough to swing it because he's been so big for them off the bench, hitting those deep shots. There could be some factors here as we get closer to game time in terms of who's playing, who's not, that sort of thing from the Clippers side. And then again, Paul George being back, I think that's ultimately what pushes me this one, because I think Paul George can play Towns even, not in the same way, but just in terms of production. I think those two could have their own duel, and then from there, kind of lean the Clippers to get it done over the rest of the Wolves supporting cast. But again, both teams are gritty, both teams are tough, both teams have found ways to win games. They do the dirty work. The Patrick Beverley against the Clippers narrative is fun, and I'm excited to see this one, regardless of who is left standing when the dust settles. I think this is going to be a really fun game to see play out.
Absolutely, we will. We'll break again momentarily. The Lakers have now announced that they parted ways with Frank Vogel. That's how they termed it in their presser. Yep. And we'll zip through this next one because I know you've now got work.
Yes, I do.
On the other side of your job here, can't just be about hanging out with me all day. But so the second Western Conference playing game is the San Antonio Spurs, number 10 seed, at the number 9 New Orleans Pelicans, 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 13th on ESPN. As long as the Pelicans have their main guys, no, not Zion, probably not Zion. I think the Pelicans are enough better than the Spurs. I don't love the idea of picking against Pop in a one game, even a pseudo one game. Well, this is one game because the loser goes home on this one. I don't like picking against Pop there, but I just think the Pelicans have too much talent. I think they'll score too much for the Spurs to keep pace. I think that's the challenge.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. I'm also going Pelicans in this one. I love DeJounte Murray. I think that he's going to create some problems, but ultimately, I think the Pelicans are going to get the job done. CJ McCollum's been fantastic for them. And then you look at the firepower they've got between McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and then Valanciunas in the middle there. That gives you that size. So I think the Pelicans do get it done. They are a 5-point favorite as of right now, and I don't see an upset brewing in this one.
Nope. All right. We'll come back to you guys with our picks for the final after. I tend to think I'm going just big picture. Nets and Hawks are my thought in the East. Nets is the 7, Hawks is the 8. And in the West, I am going Timberwolves, Clippers as 7-8. So basically stays as is. I just think the Hawks will jump the Cavs. That's my play-in picks for who actually gets those 7th and 8th seeds.
And I'm the same teams. The same team, not obviously the same order because I have the Clippers beating the Wolves, but I think the Wolves survive the do or die, and they finish in the 8th seed, which sets up Wolves and Phoenix and Clippers and Grizzlies, which I don't know what matchup I prefer if I'm the Grizzlies. But in any event, that's how I don't see it playing out.
Oh, I want the Wolves. Sorry.
You want the Wolves?
I want the Wolves. Yeah, they're probably the one team that has less playoff experience than the Grizzlies do. Yeah, I want the Wolves for sure. But yeah, one last little piece of news here, and then I'll let Trevor run to do Lakers Nation work. The Lakers have not dismissed any of the Lakers coaching staff along with Frank Vogel. Yeah. That's per Dave McMenamin of ESPN. So that
at this
tends
time,
to be how that goes. So yes, that's exactly it at this time with that. So guys, hope you enjoyed this play-in tournament preview. We will come back to you. Timing's going to be a little weird. Trevor's got some traveling going on. I've got some stuff happening as well, but we're going to get back to you. We're going to get to you. We'll get all the playoff series previewed as well as we will get fully into our awards picks later this week. A lot of coverage coming here. We're going to take you straight on through the playoffs and into the off season. And once we're into the playoffs, we'll start mixing in off season previews on off days and all that stuff for the teams that are already out and know what's going on with their off season. So yeah, good. Got a lot coming your way.
That's right. So make sure you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel and over on the podcast side on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.